Beyonce is the problem. Let's get into it. I already did a Cowboy Carter tour deep dive of the tour in its entirety, but today we're going to be focusing on a specific interlude, or rather interstitial since that's what they're calling it, and we're looking at the propaganda interstitial, which comes right before the song America Has a Problem. We're also looking at the interstitial that came before America Has a Problem in Act 1 at the Renaissance World Tour, because it's all connected. So even though Renaissance and Cowboy Carter are two different genres of album, let's not forget that they're a part of a trilogy, so there is overlapping of themes and intent between the two. Let's talk about what's propaganda for all the people who just may not know. Propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or point of view. When you watch the news, you would hope that factual, unbiased information is being reported and not propaganda. Growing up, I saw the news as law, like whatever they report, then that's how it is. So imagine how scary it is if misinformation was being spewed all over the news. And that's why in Act 1 Renaissance, the interlude we got, which was called Media, by the way, the first thing you see is like a hypnosis portal. Then you see the words, "Whoever controls the media controls the mind," which is a quote by singer, songwriter, and poet Jim Morrison. Beyonce goes on to show mind control imagery, not just the words, but the black and white swirling video to further emphasize mind control. The Jim Morrison quote is absolutely true. How many times have you heard the saying, "Seeing is believing"? And the media is so powerful, it can cause people to not even use or believe their own eyes. An example, remember how many news sources reported that Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour wasn't selling?
Time now for a big story making waves in the music world. It looks like all the single ladies are staying home as Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour, it is struggling to sell out. Let's bring in News Nation entertainment expert Paula Froelich with the scoop.
That fake news was everywhere and many believed it, despite us knowing that Beyonce always sells well, despite Beyonce adding more dates, which is a clear indication that the tour is selling, and despite the few blogs and articles that said they did thorough investigating and proved the low ticket sales news to be false. People still ran with the rumors because 1, they want it to be true. They'll believe anything negative. 2, they are not keen on doing their own research. And 3, they're still a part of the, well, if it's in the magazines and papers, it's got to be true. Well, I saw it on the news, so it has to be a fact. I read a comment that said, those low ticket sales got her acting way out of character. Someone replied to that and said, why are you spreading misinformation that you've never looked up for yourself? And to that comment, someone replied, actually, it was on the news, I even saw the clip. And this was after the tour started, where all you had to do was look at the stacked stadium to see that low sales were never an issue. But this person chose to believe lies over what their own eyes could see, and that's why propaganda is scary, because you basically have people at your fingertips believing whatever. Parkwood made sure to highlight that the first LA show was sold out because they never addressed the negativity, they just show the facts for all to see. And Beyonce's tour is pop culture news, but think about propaganda in politics and even more serious affairs. In the propaganda interstitial at the Cowboy Carter tour, she not only highlighted right-winged media talking mess about her on the news, but she also showed clips addressing other issues in America being reported on that you can read at the bottom of the screens. And I found something sort of ironic. So in Act 1, this interlude included a part of the Formation music video, where Beyonce and her dancers are in an empty pool, which was said to represent how Dorothy Dandridge, a successful black singer, was staying at a hotel but couldn't use the pool since it was only for white people, and she literally dipped her big toe in it and they ended up draining the pool. And in Act 2, one of the news reporters literally said this.
So has been around for a long time to a regular American. Most Americans in red states have been loving and enjoying it long before people decided to stick her big toe. into the lace.
Ever since I heard that, I thought of Dorothy Dandridge. It's like Act 1 low-key foreshadowed Act 2. Also, in Act 2, you hear a Ras Baraka poem called I Want to Hear an American Poem. And I also talked about this in my other deep dive video, but the poem is basically calling for no propaganda. They want the truth. They want an American poem about sharecroppers on the side of the road, of families in cardboard boxes, not about kings or majestic lands or how beautiful ugly can be.
South Carolina slave shouter, Alabama backwoods church shack calling response. Hey you!
This interstitial also shows Beyoncé dressed up like some other artists, including Tina Turner, Little Richard, and Chuck Berry, even Elvis Presley. Now this Elvis Presley one threw me for a loop. I was like, doesn't this defeat the purpose of everything else Beyoncé is doing, considering Elvis Presley stole songs and even his dance moves from black artists? That's why Ray Charles didn't like him getting the title King of Rock and Roll. And I agree with Mr. Charles wholeheartedly. Elvis took Hound Dog from Big Mama Thornton and got his moves and even emulated the voice of a black singer named Roy Hamilton. And even his signature dance move is from a black woman named Nina Mae McKinney. Then I realized that her dressed as Elvis came after the word propaganda was shown on screen, because how else did I grow up thinking he was original? Propaganda. Whoever controls the media controls the mind. No one ever talks about who inspired Elvis. I had to find it out on my own. You would never see Big Mama Thornton get her dues on any news network.
I never turn on the news. I never turn on the TV. I never turn on the news. I never propaganda.
Now this bit of the interlude is quite interesting. So Beyoncé is in a red room with a bunch of TVs and a white horse. I just interpreted it as her watching all the media, saying all that they have to say and being so done with them, but it goes a bit deeper than that. I saw a Reddit post that said Beyoncé referencing Twin Peaks. I was watching a live stream on Instagram broadcasting the new Beyoncé tour, and in one of her interludes she's in the Black Lodge. So I'm like, what? Because I've never heard of Twin Peaks before. Let me know if you have. But it's a show, and in my research, apparently Beyoncé has also referenced Twin Peaks before in Lemonade, the part where she's alone on a stage in front of a red curtain. People have compared it to the Black Lodge, which is that red room you see her in. The Black Lodge is not a physical location, but rather a realm that exists outside of our regular reality. Black Lodge is often presented as the opposite of the White Lodge, representing the dark side of existence, but its influence can manifest in the real world, affecting events and characters in Twin Peaks. In this Act 2 interlude, Beyoncé might have used this as a reference to how the media can report things that aren't real and can be dark in terms of all the lies that can transpire and even affect people's real lives. The media isn't necessarily just the news you see on TV either, but social media is included too. The creator for Twin Peaks is David Lynch, and he actually had a fascination with curtains. Lynch saw curtains as a powerful symbol of both concealing and exposing, a concept that resonated with his exploration of hidden realities and the subconscious. The color red could convey a sense of dread and fear. In the interlude, Beyoncé is seen screaming, the way Laura Palmer does in Twin Peaks. When Laura screams, it often signifies a moment of intense fear, trauma, or a recognition of the dark forces surrounding her. Could this be Beyoncé's response to all the horrible things people say about her? I mean, she literally is being accused of murder, and some are literally waiting for her to be jailed. There's also a white horse, and in the film, this white horse or pale horse means death, but that's also in the Bible too, about the 4 horsemen. In this sense, I wonder if Beyoncé is conveying the message of death to propaganda. Now, of all the songs, why did Beyoncé choose America Has a Problem to be associated with these interludes, when it has lyrics like that booty gon' do what it want to, can't hit it one time, multiple?
You want to, so that booty gon' do what it want to, can't hit it one time, multiple.
Well, at first, before the song came out and all we had was a tracklist based on the title of it, I thought America Has a Problem was going to be Formation 2.0 in terms of a social justice type of song, but it wasn't. However, just like Formation touched on serious issues in the black community, it still had sexual lyrics, so Beyoncé doesn't mind mixing her sexual lyrics with the serious ones. Now, America Has a Problem samples a song of the same name. The song originally was about drug use and that being a huge problem in America. However, However, Beyoncé flipped the song where it made it seem like she was the drug, with the lyrics like, "Call me when you wanna get high," and "Your ex-dealer dope, but it ain't crack enough." She even mentions Tony Montana, who was a drug lord in the film Scarface. In the Act 1 interlude, you even see an American flag that is literally made up of pills. So with all that being said, Beyoncé is basically like, I'm the drug and y'all are addicted, whether in a good or bad way. I remember her hairstylist saying, "America has a problem and it's Beyoncé," and I was confused, like why would he say that? But then Beyoncé goes on to call herself America's problem.
America has a problem. It's a motherfucking problem.
And Act 2 provided more clarity. She shows you how much she has people riled up. She literally had the media reporting hateful things about her and even comparing her to a dog.
What is happening to country music? It's gotten sick.
They've got to make their mark just like a dog in a dog walk park.
They have made her their problem, and she's embracing it. In one interlude, she wears a cap that says, "Houston, I am the problem," which references the popular line when Apollo 13 crashed in space. She doesn't mind ruffling feathers, and in her Cowboy Carter book, while thanking people for their support, she also mentioned to whomever it annoys, because she knows many don't like her, but as she said in the Act 2 interlude, and despite the noise, we sing. Now I want to show y'all some parallels between America Has a Problem performance from Act 1 and Act 2. Act 1 features her at a news desk with an on-air sign. Act 2, she's standing at a bunch of microphones as if she's at a press conference. There's also an on-air sign. Both acts have her song titles running along the screen the way you would see information on the news. Act 1, you see the newspaper with America Has a Problem written on it. Act 2, her as well as her dancers are actually wearing newspaper print outfits with similar text. America Has a Problem and its lyrics, the words "sold out" also written there, and the words "The Echo." The propaganda interstitial and America Has a Problem are a part of the second section of the tour, which is Revolution. The other songs in this section are Spaghetti, which I talked about in my first deep dive video. It's like she's the bad guy. There's also Formation, which we already touched on, My House, which I broke down the significance of that song as well in my other video, and Diva, which is like, after all is said and done, she's still a diva, still that girl, still the one they love to hate and talk about in the media, but still she sings. Be sure to check out my other Cowboy Carter deep dive video, and thanks for watching.